Welcome back, everyone. Today we'll be taking a deep dive into a story that really highlights how a simple act of kindness can create a ripple effect and spark a much larger movement.
Oh, I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, it's about Eva, an 8-year-old burn survivor,
Wow.
her love for art, a chance meeting with Melania Trump, and a viral social media post all combined to touch countless lives. And it's not just a feel-good story. As we go deeper, we'll see how it showcases resilience and art as a healing force, and the potential we each have to make a difference, regardless of our age or our circumstances.
Yeah, that's what I find so fascinating about Eva's story. It really challenges our preconceived ideas about who can create change.
Right.
We often think of world leaders or, really influential people leading movements, but here we have an 8-year-old girl showing that any of us can spark something truly impactful.
Absolutely. So let's start by kind of transporting ourselves to Eva's world at the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. Our sources describe quiet hospital routines, the feeling of loneliness, and how drawing became her, I don't know, her escape.
And her art wasn't about being technically perfect. Eva's drawings, they often used bold colors and simple lines, and they really focused on the raw emotions of her subjects.
hmm
It was this unique style, full of vulnerability and feeling that would really resonate with people later on.
Yeah, it's like her art became a bridge, connecting her with the outside world, a way to share her experiences despite the challenges she was facing. And then, into this world comes Melania Trump, who was the first lady at the time.
And it wasn't even a planned visit. A nurse, really touched by Eva's story and her talent, decided to share it on social media. And that simple act had an incredible ripple effect. The post went viral, millions of people saw it, including Melania Trump, who was already known for her work advocating for children.
And this wasn't just a fleeting moment of internet fame. The viral post had a real impact.
For sure.
People were moved by Eva's resilience, her art, and they responded with a huge outpouring of support.
Absolutely. Donations poured into the hospital. A local art gallery in Pasadena offered to display her work, and even a community mural was created based on her drawings. And what's interesting is this wave of support. It wasn't just focused on Eva. It also brought art therapy, something that's often overlooked, into the spotlight.
Yeah. And, maybe we should pause here and explain what art therapy is, especially for those who might not be familiar.
Sure.
Art therapy isn't about creating masterpieces.
Mhm.
It's about using creativity through painting, drawing, sculpting to help people explore their emotions and deal with stress.
Right. It's really valuable in pediatric care. Children, especially those facing medical challenges, they might not have the words to express their feelings. Art therapy gives them a way to communicate without words, to process trauma and build resilience. It's like giving them a new language.
Now imagine you're 8 years old.
Mhm.
Suddenly you're in the national spotlight. The first lady visits you in the hospital. How did Eva handle all this attention?
Well, what's remarkable is that despite being overwhelmed, she never lost sight of the bigger picture. Instead of, just enjoying the attention, she used her platform to advocate for others. One of the first things she did was ask to share her art supplies with other young patients.
Now that's really using your voice for good.
Yeah.
But wasn't there some criticism about a young girl, especially one facing her own challenges, being put in such a public role?
Yeah. There were definitely concerns about potential exploitation and the pressure put on her. It sparked a debate about the ethics of involving children in campaigns, even when the intentions are good. And these are important discussions because it's really tricky to navigate that line between empowerment and exploitation, especially with kids.
It definitely adds another layer to her story. It shows how important it is for us as a society to protect children while also acknowledging that they can inspire and advocate for causes. But let's get back to Eva. What happened next? How did her art and her encounter with Melania Trump turn into something even bigger?
Well, with all the public interest and Eva's desire to help, a well-known organization dedicated to children's resilience decided to have a national fundraiser in her honor. It was called Eva's Art of Hope, and it aimed to raise awareness about art therapy and its impact on children with medical challenges.
So this fundraiser, it wasn't just a fancy event or anything, was it? It was a real turning point for Eva. Tell me more about Eva's Art of Hope and the impact it had.
Yeah, it was held in Los Angeles, and it drew a really diverse crowd. Families who had been through similar situations, art lovers, celebrities, even politicians.
Wow.
And Eva's artwork was displayed everywhere. Each piece showed her talent and how art can help us get through difficult times.
I can imagine what it must have been like for Eva to see her personal artwork, which was once private, now on display for everyone to see.
Mhm.
Did she have any hesitation about sharing her art so publicly?
From what we've learned, Eva was understandably a little nervous, but she was also excited to share her story and her artwork. She understood that by doing so, she could help other kids going through similar things and show how important art can be for healing.
That's amazing for someone so young. What was the response like at the event?
It was overwhelmingly positive. People were just captivated by Eva's story and her art. But Eva's Art of Hope went beyond just the emotional impact. It raised a significant amount of money, too, way more than they initially expected. And it wasn't just about the money. It showed that people were starting to understand and accept art therapy as a real and valuable form of treatment.
So the event didn't just raise money, but it also helped change how people saw art therapy.
Yeah.
That's huge. Did the organizers have a plan for how that money would be used?
Absolutely. The funds were set aside for a really innovative initiative, a nationwide art therapy program. And get this, it was spearheaded by Melania Trump herself.
Really? She was that moved by Eva's story.
Yeah, she saw the potential of art to help people heal.
Wow, that's a big deal for the First Lady to take that on as a personal project. What exactly was the program all about?
The program was called Draw Hope, and it aimed to give art therapy resources to children's hospitals all across the country. This meant providing art supplies, things like crayons, paint, clay, even musical instruments.
Oh, wow.
But they also wanted to train healthcare professionals in art therapy techniques and incorporate them into their existing programs.
That sounds incredibly ambitious. It seems like Draw Hope was intended to be more than just a feel-good project. It was about changing the way art therapy was seen and used in healthcare. Were there any challenges in getting such a large-scale program up and running?
Of course, rolling out a nationwide program, especially one like art therapy, came with challenges.
Right.
Finding ongoing funding was a big one. And then training qualified art therapists and getting them into hospitals in different states with all their different rules, that was tough too.
And what about the kids themselves? Did Draw Hope allow for different types of creative expression, or was it mainly about visual arts?
That's a great question. The name might make you think of drawing, but Draw Hope recognized that creativity comes in many forms. So yeah, visual arts were important, but they also included music, dance, even creative writing. They wanted to make sure kids could express themselves in ways that felt right for them.
That makes a lot of sense. Every child is different, and they'll connect with different forms of expression. But how did the program measure its success? Was it just about providing resources, or did they actually track how the kids were doing?
It's tricky to measure the impact of art therapy. It's not always about numbers and statistics. But Draw Hope did try to keep track of progress.
Okay.
They collected information about the children's emotional well-being, communication skills, and how they coped with things.
So they were trying to balance the personal nature of art with the need for data to prove the program was working. What was the early feedback like from the hospitals and families?
It was really encouraging. Hospitals saw a real difference in the kids participating in Draw Hope. They were more engaged, they communicated better, and they seemed emotionally healthier overall.
That's wonderful to hear. It sounds like Draw Hope was taking the power of art therapy and turning it into positive results for these kids. But I'm guessing it wasn't all perfect, was it? Did the program have any critics or face any setbacks along the way?
Well, no program is ever without its challenges.
Right.
Some critics said that while Draw Hope had good intentions, it might accidentally take resources away from other important medical treatments.
I see.
Others questioned if it was sustainable to rely on donations and grants for such a big program.
That's a fair point. Finding that balance between supporting new programs like this and making sure there's enough funding for all areas of children's health care, that's a tough one. It really highlights the choices healthcare systems have to make with limited resources. Let's shift gears back to Eva for a minute. What happened to her as Draw Hope grew?
Her life was definitely changed by this whole experience. She continued making art, and her style evolved as she got older. She chose not to be directly involved in the daily workings of Draw Hope, but her story remained at the center of it.
So she found a way to manage her newfound fame while staying true to her love of art. That's a tricky thing to do, especially at such a young age. But it seems like she understood the importance of creating her own path while allowing Draw Hope to grow on its own.
Exactly. And her story is still so inspiring. It shows that sometimes a simple act of kindness, just being willing to share our experiences, can start a chain reaction that leads to big changes. Eva's journey reminds us that we all have the power to make a difference, no matter how old we are or what our situation is.
Absolutely. It emphasizes the idea that positive change doesn't always have to come from grand gestures or big announcements. Sometimes it's the small acts of courage, the willingness to share our stories that can spark something bigger than ourselves.
Right, and Eva's story really highlights the power of art. It reminds us that art isn't just for entertainment or beauty. It can heal, it can help us express ourselves, and it can connect us with others. And through programs like Draw Hope, we see how art can be part of healthcare, giving people, especially children, new ways to cope, communicate, and find their strength.
What I find really touching is that Eva's art, which started from a place of loneliness and pain, became a source of hope for so many others. It speaks to the human spirit's ability to find beauty and meaning even in the darkest times.
It's true. And it reminds us that while we often think of art as personal, it can also connect people, build empathy, and unite communities through shared experiences.
As we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you hope our listeners will remember from Eva's story?
I hope it inspires them to see the possibilities, to realize that each of us can create positive change. It might be through art, like Eva, or through something else we're passionate about, or even just by lending a helping hand.
It's about understanding that we're all connected and that what we do, even the small things, can have a ripple effect far beyond what we can see. And as Eva's story so beautifully illustrates, art can be a powerful force in this process. It can break down barriers, foster understanding, and remind us of the strength of the human spirit.
Just like that nurse who shared Eva's story, we never know how our actions might affect others, or what kind of impact they might have.
So as we end this episode, let's take a moment to think about ourselves. What small act of kindness, inspired by Eva, could you do today? What talents or passions do you have that could be used to help others or make a difference in your community? Remember, even the smallest actions can have a big impact. This has been a deep dive into the incredible journey of Eva and her art of hope. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep inspiring.